So before we dive into part 2, I gotta address something real quick. Some folks were real upset about me using the word knockoff in part 1. And look, I get it. That word can sound dismissive. But honestly, I only used it for the algorithm. YouTube eats that kind of stuff up, which is why I explained when a show wasn't a direct knockoff, but had shared enough characteristics to be comparable to the Ninja Turtles. It wasn't meant to disrespect any of the properties I covered, especially not shows like Gargoyles or SWAT Kats, which are some of my absolute favorites. I even said they weren't direct knockoffs. Still, they were influenced by the TMNT wave by using certain aspects, and that's why they were included. If I remember, I will pin a list of links with other similar lists where I chose the entries from. Now with that cleared up, let's get into part 2. This time, we're not just covering more TV shows that followed in the Turtles' tracks, we're also digging into comics and movies that took inspiration, parodied, or flat out tried to copy the Turtles' formula. And believe it or not, some of these were inspired by the original black and white TMNT comics, before Turtlemania truly exploded with the 1987 cartoon. So yeah, the influence of those 4 sewer-dwelling ninjas goes deep. Thank you to those that suggested these entries. Let's run it back. Comics. Adolescent radioactive black belt hamsters. Let's start with the most infamous of the TMNT comic parodies, Adolescent radioactive black belt hamsters. And yes, that's the real name. This comic dropped in 1986, just 2 years after the first TMNT issue, and it was one of the earliest and weirdest attempts to ride the Turtles' black and white indie comics coattails. The hamsters, named after action stars like Clint, Bruce, Jackie, and Chuck, fought evil using martial arts and outer space absurdity. It was self-aware and intentionally ridiculous, poking fun at the very idea of mutant animal warriors. But despite the obvious parody, it actually gained enough attention to get a miniseries, a reboot attempt, and even a role-playing game. While it never reached the Turtles' success, it definitely left a mark in the indie comic world as one of the first and funniest reactions to the TMNT craze. Geriatric gangrene jujitsu GERBILS. If the hamsters didn't convince you that the TMNT comic boom was wild, how about geriatric gangrene jujitsu GERBILS? This comic leaned even harder into parody territory by making its heroes elderly martial artist rodents. They were way past their prime, a bit cranky and totally hilarious. It wasn't a long-running series, but it existed purely to make fun of how oversaturated the mutant martial arts genre had become. The title alone is pure comedy gold, and while the content wasn't groundbreaking, it showed just how far TMNT's ripple effect reached, even into the nursing home. Mildly microwaved, pre-pubescent, Kung Fu Gophers. Yes, this was real. The mildly microwaved, pre-pubescent Kung Fu Gophers was another independent comic that pushed the parody envelope. This one took the absurdity even further, with gophers who weren't radioactive or mutants, just microwaved. The comic mocked everything from the origin tropes to the overuse of ninja cliches, serving as a tongue-in-cheek jab at the growing pile of TMNT wannabes. You can tell the creators were having fun with the format, but it also served as a time capsule of how the indie comic scene exploded with bizarre, animal-based martial arts teams in the mid to late 80s. Radically rearranged RONIN RAGDOLLS. This one's a little different. The radically rearranged RONIN RAGDOLLS were introduced in Kevin Eastman's Drawing Blood comic universe. While technically a fictional parody within another story, the RAGDOLLS are a direct meta-commentary on the entire TMNT phenomenon, created by one of the original Turtles creators himself. They're 3 female mutated cats trained in martial arts, and their story mirrors the real-life experience of TMNT's rise and the madness that followed. It's less a knockoff and more a loving satire from someone who lived it. If you're a hardcore TMNT fan, this one's worth checking out for how it cleverly blends homage, parody, and self-reflection. Movies. Kung Fu Rascals. Directed by Steve Wang, Kung Fu Rascals was a live-action martial arts parody featuring absurd characters, rubbery costumes, and ridiculous humor. It was essentially TMNT meets Looney Tunes, with heavy Asian cinema influence and slapstick energy. While it was low budget and totally offbeat, it had a kind of underground charm. It felt like a fan film made by someone who loved both martial arts movies and the ridiculousness of TMNT, and it wore that influence proudly. Warriors of Virtue. This 1997 fantasy film followed a kid who gets transported to a magical world ruled by humanoid kangaroo warriors who practice martial arts. Yes, that happened. Clearly trying to tap into the post-TMNT wave, Warriors of Virtue was ambitious but too strange and self-serious for its own good. The costumes were impressive, but the story was confusing, and audiences just didn't bite. Still, it's a wild watch if you've never seen it. Three Ninjas. Now this one hit big. Three Ninjas featured three suburban brothers trained in martial arts by their wise grandfather, fighting off bad guys in slapstick, Home Alone-style ways. It didn't have mutants or pizza, but the blend of kids doing ninja stuff was 100% riding the turtle wave. The film spawned multiple sequels, became a staple on VHS shelves, and proved that martial arts for kids was a bankable genre, even without shellbacks and sewer layers. It's pure 90s fun. Surf Ninjas. Surf Ninjas was the goofy sibling of Three Ninjas, blending martial arts with beach vibes, Sega Game Gears, and Rob Schneider. Two brothers discover they're princes of a mystical island and must reclaim their kingdom using martial arts and, apparently, surfing. It's got all the staples of early 90s kid action flicks. Wise old mentor, destiny, and a training montage or two. What makes Surf Ninjas especially notable for TMNT fans is that it starred Ernie Reyes Jr., who was not only Keno in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, The Secret of the Ooze, but also the stunt double for Donatello in the first TMNT movie. His martial arts talent, charisma, and connection to the Turtles franchise gave the movie a legit edge, making it feel like a spiritual cousin to the Shellheads, even if it swapped sewers for surfboards. TV shows.
I'm not sure what they are, but they're totally bizarre.
Creepy Crawlers. Creepy Crawlers was a 1994 cartoon based on the popular toy line where a kid accidentally brings bug-themed heroes called Goop Mandos to life and teams up with them to battle the evil Professor Guggengrine. It followed the TMNT-inspired formula closely. Mutated heroes, a human ally, gross-out villains, and plenty of team-based action. It wasn't as big as the Turtles, but it fit right in with the 90s wave of weird and wild cartoons aimed at toy-loving kids. Mummies Alive. Mummies Alive took the ancient warriors concept and gave it a supernatural twist. A team of Egyptian guardians are resurrected in modern-day San Francisco to protect a young boy who's the reincarnation of a pharaoh. They each had themed armor, powers, and their own personalities. Sound familiar? It definitely borrowed from the TMNT formula with its team dynamics, color-coded characters, and battle-ready catchphrases, but gave it a unique mythological spin. It only lasted one season, but for kids who liked action, transformation sequences, and Egyptian lore, it was a hidden gem.
We are the Martians, the butt-ugly Martians. We are the Martians, the butt-ugly Martians.
Butt-ugly Martians. This early 2000s CGI cartoon had three alien goofballs who came to Earth and pretended to invade, but actually just wanted to hang out and be cool. They even had power armor modes and battled other alien threats, while still trying to keep their existence a secret from the government. It was like someone mashed together TMNT, Men in Black, and Nickelodeon slime humor, and filtered it through early 2000s CGI. The animation hasn't aged well, but the show had its moments, and it definitely had that team of weird outsiders protecting Earth vibe that TMNT helped popularize. Avenger Penguins. Avenger Penguins was a British cartoon from 1993 to 1994 by Cosgrove Hall, known for Danger Mouse. It followed three motorcycle-riding penguins protecting Big City from the evil Caractacus P. Doom and rival biker gangs like the Stink Brothers. The show parodied TMNT with over-the-top action, pop culture references, and even characters like the badly drawn brothers that mock sloppy animation. With Mike McShane voicing both the heroic Marlin and the villain, it stood out for its humor, meta jokes, and end-of-an-era hand-painted animation style.
Captain Bucky O'Hare, he goes when no ordinary rabbit would dare.
Bucky O'Hare and the Toad Wars. This one gets a lot of nostalgic love, and rightfully so. Bucky O'Hare featured a green space rabbit leading a crew of anthropomorphic animals in a war against a totalitarian toad empire. The animation was slick, the designs were top tier, and it had a surprising amount of lore. While it was based on a comic that came before the '87 TMNT cartoon, it still found its place in the Turtlemania wave once the show hit in 1991. The marketing, the toys, and the team dynamics all mirrored TMNT's formula, making it a sci-fi cousin to the sewer-dwelling ninjas. DINOSAUCERS. DINOSAUCERS actually aired a few months before the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoon in 1987, making it one of the earliest team-based mutant-style cartoons of the era. The show followed a group of heroic, humanoid dinosaurs from space who teamed up with Earth kids to battle the villainous Tyrannos. It featured classic team dynamics, sci-fi action, and wild creature designs that fit right in with what would soon become the TMNT trend. Even though it beat the cartoon to air, it's possible DINOSAUCERS took some inspiration from the original TMNT comics, which debuted in 1984. The idea of mutated-themed animal warriors with distinct roles and personalities was already bubbling in indie comics, and DINOSAUCERS definitely shared that DNA. It may not have been chasing Turtlemania yet, but it still ended up part of the same mutated movement.
Toxic Crusaders, Toxic Crusaders, Toxic.
Toxic Crusaders. Based on the R-rated Toxic Avenger films, Toxic Crusaders was a bizarre attempt to turn gore and grime into kid-friendly superhero content. It worked, kinda. Toxie and his team of mutated misfits fought against pollution and monstrous corporate villains in the most gross-out way possible. It was funny, weird, and very self-aware, using TMNT's team-based format and mutation theme, but going hard on the eco-warrior angle. The show didn't last long, but the toys, theme song, and slime factor helped cement its cult status. Captain Simian and the Space Monkeys. Another in the long line of TMNT adjacent shows. Captain Simian followed a monkey astronaut who becomes the leader of a crew of spacefaring, evolved apes battling a villain named Lord Nebula. Think TMNT meets Star Trek, but with banana jokes. It was better than it had any right to be, with solid writing and fun sci-fi plots. The characters all had unique personalities, weapons, and dynamics, very Turtles-ish, even though the setting was light years away from New York sewers.
Now we have the Dragon.
Savage Dragon. While Savage Dragon was adapted from Image Comics and not directly born out of TMNT's formula, it still shared some DNA. A mutated green super cop with a mohawk fighting freakish criminals? Sounds like a cousin of the Turtles to me. The show leaned more superhero than ninja, but it still had that gritty 90s energy. It ran for 2 seasons and was part of a wave of animated adaptations like Spawn, Wildcats, and the Max that followed in the shadow of TMNT's success in making indie comics cool for kids. So whether it was in comics, cartoons, or movies, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles didn't just dominate. They inspired an entire wave of weird, wild, and sometimes wonderful creations. Some were parodies, some were straight-up imitations, and some became cult classics in their own right. A huge shout-out and heartfelt thank you to our amazing throwback tier members, Peace by Chaos, Thicula, iCritic, Mary Jarrell, Jeremy Bowen, and Mr. Blanks. Your support means the world, and you're helping keep the nostalgia alive in a big way. I also want to thank all the other awesome members who support the channel. Whether you're new or you've been rocking with us from the beginning, I appreciate every single one of you. If you'd like to help the channel grow even more, don't forget to check out the merch shop. It's another great way to show support and rep that nostalgic love wherever you go. And while I know the word knockoff might ruffle some feathers, the truth is, I covered these because they mattered. They left an impression just like the Turtles did. If I left out one of your favorites, let me know in the comments. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so we can keep the nostalgia alive.